She is me, she is you, she's all of us. Thank you for being with us today. We're super excited. Buckle up. We're going to have an amazing session.
But women earn 84% less. Women invest less than men, and women live 6 years longer than men. So that is a huge thing to think about. So excited to introduce our speaker today. It has closed over 1,000 deals and trained more than 87,000. One more time, 87,000 investors. It says to the
I went ahead and built the bridge until the point where I was making more money working part-time as a real estate investor than I was working full-time in financial planning and analysis.
Hello. Welcome to She builds, she owns, she invests. She is me, she is you, she's all of us. Thank you for being with us today. We're super excited. Buckle up. We're going to have an amazing session. So join us. Thank you so much for being here. We are in a mission to help 1 million women create wealth through real estate while we foster personal, professional, and spiritual growth. So thank you so much for joining us on this mission. Disclaimer, every investment has risk. We do not charge anything for these sessions. However, we ask you that if you're looking to start investing, connect with us. We would love to hear where you are in your journey. Every investment has a risk. Do your due diligence. Every speaker that we bring offer products or services, and we do not endorse any of them. We bring them because they are our mentors, friends, but your due diligence. Okay, a little bit about Massive Capital. We are a vertically integrated company. We have multifamily deals across Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, and Denver. We also are partnered with Realty One. They do new construction for retail centers. And combined, we have over $500 million of assets under management. As I said, we are vertically integrated. We have our construction company, leasing company, equity, brokerage, and everything in-house. So if you want to start investing or just curious about how you can also start doing deals, connect with us. And we're happy to share with you. All right. Well, why do we love real estate? This is my favorite slide so far. Why cash flow? That's one of the benefits. Maria, tell us about cash flow.
Thank you. I think since I was editing it, it didn't let me change it because I was still on it, but that's okay. But I love that we have some new statistics, and it's a little scary to talk about, but women earn 84% less than men. Women save 50% less than men. Women invest less than men, and women live 6 years longer than men. So that is a huge thing to think about. So cash flow is so important. Real estate is a favored option as it can provide a dependable source of cash flow through retail investing and passive income. And that's why cash flow is so important when you're thinking about real estate investing. Jasmine, why do you think long-term appreciation is so important?
Well, so it turns out that 81% of women have their wealth in cash. And that was me. That's how I started. I was just saving money, having my money in the bank and making 0%, 1.001%. And I was like, what should I do with my money? And I was, while I figure something out, let me buy a piece of real estate. That's the safest place to put my money. And for sure, I know that it's gonna appreciate. So if, whatever happens, at least it's gonna appreciate. So that's what got me in real estate. I bought my first piece of land, and then the rest is just story. Candace, tell us a little bit about the leverage.
Yeah, so I'm one of the 43% of the women in the world who have career breaks. I've been a serial entrepreneur my whole life, but several times in my life, I've had to stop to raise kids, have children, be the designated daughter, take care of an ailing mother. And by having, 2, 3, 4 different income streams coming in from cash flows and apartments and other commercial real estate that I've invested in over the year, it's allowed me to have a career break and not sacrifice our family income. So we all need, as women, multiple income streams coming in because life happened. And so, Maria, tell us about the diversification, because I know
Yeah,
that's a favorite of yours.
it is, because I'm showing one of my first properties here in that picture. It is one in North Carolina, which has taken a big hit with the weather right now. So we do have our thoughts and prayers in those different locations. But I do have some crazy facts. Again, is the average woman keeps 81% of their wealth in cash in their accounts. And we know that these accounts are not going to be moving when they're just sitting in a bank. And 70% of women have never met a financial advisor. Now, I know that we don't consider ourselves financial advisors, but as my friend Jasmine always says, is that she kind of feels like a therapist with a calculator. And when we are helping our investors get into these deals, I do like that feel somewhat like a therapist as we're helping our investors get into these deals. And I mean, with all these women that are keeping so much of their wealth in cash, like, we've got to move that somewhere, and we've got to diversify it into properties and really get it to move for us. And I think, Jasmine, you're going to talk about some tax benefits for us.
Yeah, that's probably the second thing that got me real estate. Just having tax benefits at the end of the year through cost segregation. Pretty much what we say in the IRS is like, hey, the property is depreciating. I have paper losses. Well, we know that the property is appreciating and is cash flowing, but it just helps to offset our income. So of course we're not CPAs, but those are some of the benefits and through our personal experiences, that why we got in real estate.
And now, here's someone you want to hear from, our sponsor.
For over 15 years, Skyline Title has been a trusted name in Texas real estate. From first-time homebuyers to seasoned investors, our team ensures a smooth, reliable closing experience every time. Backed by a decade of partnerships and proven success, we take pride in protecting your biggest investment, your home. Visit SkylineHTX.com to learn more.
But Maria, let's talk about our speaker today. Tell us a little bit about the amazing speaker that we have.
I'm so excited to introduce our speaker today. It is a huge honor to have Shenoah with us. I mean, for those of you who know her, she has been working with us, and we've been able to work and learn alongside with her. So we are very excited for just her to be here. She is a fourth generation Texan and real estate powerhouse, and has closed over 1,000 deals and trained more than 87,000, one more time, 87,000 investors since 2003. She is the owner and operator of Texas REIAs and the largest association of real estate investors in Texas, with a presence in major markets such as Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, Austin, and San Antonio. As a licensed realtor, broker, and the leader of Austin's Real Estate Association, Shenoah continues to invest, inspire, and mentor new investors. At Texas REIs, she fosters a community where members share knowledge, collaborate on deals, access funding, and grow together, with a strong belief in building both networks and net worth together, collective learning. Shenoah provides free resources and blueprints at texasstarterkit.com to help others succeed in real estate. Shenoah, we are so happy to have you here, and thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hi, guys. Hi, gals. Good to have you guys. Good to be on with you guys. Excited to share a little bit about my journey and maybe bring some other folks along for the ride. So that's one of the blessings that I've been able to do, not just make it for myself, but also bring others along. So the quote from Muhammad Ali says, He said, service to others is the price that we pay for our room here on this earth. So one of the ways that I serve is through Texas REIAs. So I'm always having meetings and sharing knowledge, sharing information, sharing best practices. And sometimes I'm unscrambling someone's egg that they scrambled up before they met me. But it's one of the things that I really enjoy. And I got my first deal as part of the REIA. I found my first lender as part of the REIA. I found my first, contractor, my first contract, my first attorney. All of that is part of the REIA, and I feel a debt of service and gratitude to that REIA. So I continue to, and I don't know at this point if I'm paying it forward or paying it back, but it's it's going to be part of my legacy. I always say Texas REIAs was my baby even before I had a baby. And it's something I'm really passionate about. I'm often asked, what do you do? Sometimes. And I'll often say I'm a real estate investor. And if they probe a little deeper and if they kind of are really interested in it, a lot of times I'll tell people that I help people quit jobs that they hate so they can do things that they love. It feels amazing.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Shenoah. We're super excited. So let's start, from humble beginnings. You talk about like everything started at RIA, but tell us a little bit about your background and what got you to the RIA and, everything that happened after.
Okay, so I'm a fourth generation real estate investor. But probably like many of us on this call, when I was a young woman, instead of my family
playing.
to real estate, my family said, like what many of our families said to us, which is go get a good education, right? And go get a job and go work for someone else. And when I was a young woman and watching what my, grandparents did and watching what my parents did, I would often introduce my mom as this is my mom, the slumlord. And when I would finish college and start working in corporate America, and I was working my butt off in corporate America, I had to change the way that I introduced my mom to this is my mom, the millionaire. This is my mom, the multi-millionaire. And still to this day, there's something that I'm swallowing, pride, I don't know what, that stays with me to this day. And I watched what she was doing. I watched what I was doing. And ironically, I was, she had said, like, go get an education, and Jasmine, like you, I got my MBA from Rice. So I'm like, I'm going to go show you guys how it's done. I'm going to go and work in corporate America. And then I'm like, well, wait a second, this isn't working out the exact way that I had planned. And I took another look at real estate. And at the time, my husband had just lost his job. So he's like, yeah, you know a little something about real estate, don't you? And I'm like, oh yeah, I do. And so I stepped out of my corporate America job. It was interesting. When I was working, I was working what I call the second shift. So I was working my corporate America job from 8 until 6 or later. And then when I got home, I would work what I called my second shift. And I'd work my second shift from roughly 8 p.m. until 11 p.m. And then I'd work my second shift on the weekend. And for any of the folks that are on the call that are working in corporate America, let me tell you, the second shift will set you free. You just have to put in the time to be able to get there, right? So for me, the second shift set me free. It allowed me to build that bridge. So as I was listening to a lot of the stats that you guys were sharing at the beginning, what I'm hearing is, some fear, right? And I'm hearing some need for security. So for me, I wanted to build a bridge instead of just quitting. Right. So instead of just saying, I'm quitting my corporate America job, I don't know if this real estate thing is going to be for me. I went ahead and built the bridge until the point where I was making more money working part-time as a real estate investor than I was working full-time in financial planning and analysis. So at one point, I kind of tried to get fired. I don't know if you've ever tried to get fired. They were firing everyone around me. Everyone around me was getting fired. And I'm like, I think I'm close. I think I'm going to get on this next layoff, So, and I knew that it was the end. They wouldn't fire me. But they gave me everyone else's work as they fired other people. Some of you guys have been in that position before, right? So the straw that broke the camel's back for me was we had a team building event. And the team building event, when I first started at this company, like, it'd be like, champagne, poker night, we do some Habitat for Humanity trips. So those are all fun. But as the company was like on the income wasn't coming in, right? All of the perks just got pared back. And because they had fired over half the company towards the end of the time that I was there, our team building event was something that they called Clean a Cube.
Yep.
So imagine going to collect all of everyone's red staplers, right? I don't know if you guys have seen that movie, My Red Stapler. Okay. But imagine going, and it's like we were organizing paper clips, organizing Post-it notes, organizing pens, because we were moving from 2 buildings into 1. And I was like, this is just really not what it's supposed to be like. And I'm having more fun and I'm making more money in real estate. And when I think of freedom, so we're all here for some degree of freedom, right? Legacy, time, money, emotion, identity, location. We all want all of those types of freedom in our lives. And as I finally stepped away from my corporate America job, I was able to achieve that. And as part of my journey, and also my husband's journey as well, we started to talk about the deals that we were doing as we were doing them. So we were giving and we were sharing and we were saying, I'll fund your deal or I'll partner on your deal. And that made us magnetic, right? So the more we can spend time in our life creating that magnetism, that energy around us, the more likely it is that we're going to be even more successful, I believe. And that's something that's worked out for me, giving a lot and sharing a little bit about my journey and sharing how other people can take some of those, sometimes what might feel like a very difficult step or something that you're unsure about, or something that may not be giving you the security that, some of us as women, and me in particular, like I like that security, right? And I think that's why a lot of people, as you guys gave the stats, more women keep money in a checking account or a savings account as opposed to really investing it, because there's some fear there. And I think a lot of the things that you guys are doing as part of and you guys are doing as part of Massive Capital is to eliminate some of that fear. How do we eliminate fear? We grow in competency, we grow in our network, we grow in action, and all of those things increase our confidence so that we can take the money out of our checking account and invest it in something that's going to build and give us higher returns than what otherwise would be. But a lot of times we only feel comfortable doing that after we have that knowledge, that network. And as part of Texas REIAs, the things that I always say is this is where you're going to find the tools, this is where you're going to find the training, and this is where you're going to find the tribe. And with all of those things, you build up that competency, and with all those things, you build up your confidence. And with all of those things is an opportunity for you to win.
So that really leads me to my question, Shenoah. And you mentioned several times the relationship you have with Phil and your spouse, and you talked about how left your first job to actually launch into a career that you really love. So tell us a little bit about how the two of you work together, because you've built this huge empire together. And tell us who got the spark first in commercial real estate, and how you both came to the conclusion that working together in the business was going to be more beneficial than doing your separate things.
So if I were to go back to the beginning, 2003, we joined our local real estate investor association. The person who was running it at the time said, "Hey, you look pretty organized. Would you be our membership coordinator? It doesn't pay anything. You get free membership into the association." At the time, it was like $60. And I said, "Yeah, I'll take that job." And it's just going to be about 5-10 hours a week. And so I was making about 25 cents an hour, maybe, right, doing that job. But I got to know every single person that came into that association. I got to know the people who were doing stuff, the people who were just talking about stuff. I got to know the people who had money. I got to know the people who had deals. I got to know the people who had resources. And, that to me, that, is leverage, right? If you know those people, if you have a big tribe, a big community. And at some point, the person who was running the Real Estate Investor Association just stopped coming to the meetings. So it's like, okay, now you're president. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I wasn't really expecting that. And then I eventually bought it from her. So we kind of made a, as a financial person, we're going to do a make versus buy spreadsheet on this thing. But there was a lot of goodwill in the name. So we ended up buying it from her and then growing it to beyond Austin into San Antonio and then Dallas and then in Houston. And our network really began to grow and expand from there. And we met more and more people, and we were doubling down in residential real estate. And as we started to expand in our community and look at some commercial ventures, we were taking some of our winnings from residential and investing that passively into a lot of commercial deals. And I was trying to add it up before I got on this call, and I think I have about $1 million passively in other people's deals. And I've got about 4 million or more in some of our own. So, and then I own a bunch of residential rental properties that kind of, fund whatever I want. And that's a little bit about my journey. So I hooked up with someone who was ahead of me on the commercial side and started, talking to them about commercial investing and started to, help out, so use what I learned and then take it back to the people. So, and as I'm taking that back to the people, I'm getting more people, and it's just kind of a cycle like that. So that's a little bit about how our journey started. Mostly, again, just passively writing a check, right? So I live, breathe, eat, sleep, gargle, snore, real estate. And I know, when I think about the stock market and when I was in corporate America, I said, like, I'm going to keep my 401k, my IRA over here, and I'm going to keep separate money over here to be able to invest in real estate. And at one point I realized that I know more about real estate than the average person. And I know less about the stock market than the MIT grad who is in, 5 different screens, and just studying, eating, breathing, living, sleeping that all day long. And so I ended up just moving my money into other real estate assets. And that's the journey that I took. But and it was at a point where I knew that I knew more and I had the confidence to be able to move it over. I wish I would have done it a little sooner, right? But luckily I moved it before 2008. So before, when the stock market was at 14,000 instead of when the stock market was, or the Dow was at 6,700. So it was good timing for me to kind of feel that level of confidence to be able to go out there and do it. But confidence comes with competence. Confidence comes with being around the right people. Confidence comes with doing it. Living, breathing, eating, sleeping, gargling, whatever else you're doing there. So that was a little bit about my journey.
Well, and for those ladies who have, a partner or have a couple, share with us advice on how it is to work together with your partner, because not everybody's cut out for that. And sometimes it's a good idea and sometimes it's not. So give us some of your tips and words of wisdom working with your husband.
100%. Number one thing, I'm going to channel Aretha Franklin here. RESPECT. Respect. I mean, we have incredible amounts of respect for each other, which allows us to give each other a lot of leeway and a lot of trust. Phil and I, we more duplicate each other than we complement each other. We're both left brain. So, and I often quote, I think it was Grace Kelly, what she said about Fred Astaire, which is, I can do everything he can do except backwards and in high heels. And I said that quote all the time. So for those of you guys who don't know, they were dancing partners, right? And they would do these very elaborate dances. And for Phil and I can do everything he can do except backwards and in high heels, which is a little bit of a tougher task, if you think about it, right? But yeah, we just have a tremendous amount of respect for each other, and I think that's the basis for everything. There's yelling, screaming fights, but what I will say is those yelling, screaming fights are like, we just need to it's out of love, like, no, this needs to be better. It's like, I'm going to tell him something needs to be better, and he's going to tell me something needs to be better. So we're both headed in that same direction of wanting that greater good and wanting that, yeah, just it is something that is part of my DNA, and it is something that is part of Phil's DNA. I am, I think, just in the gender roles, women sometimes will say, like, I have a problem, I just need to talk it out. And the male gender role is, I have the solution for you. And, for me, I'm kind of lean more to, I'm going to solve something, right? It's like, this is like, I'm ready for my close up right now. I'm going to solve. So we're a little bit opposite like that. So when he needs me to be a little softer, it's like, I can't stop solving, and so we have some kind of funny moments like that. But I will tell you, like, anytime that either of us are down, we have the same answer for the other one, which is just work harder. Just go and work harder. There is something that is incredibly relieving about production. There is something incredibly relieving about work. And having, if you just have a plan, like, I want to, I want to get rich, right? Let's say that is your plan. That's going to create anxiety, because that's general ambition. But if you have a specific plan and a specific direction, well, that creates excitement, that creates drive, that creates I want to get up at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning because somebody needs me on my A game. And that, to me, is something that Phil and I both share. We know that someone in our lives, someone in our community, needs us on our A game, and we want to show up on our A game. So that is a big basis of our success as a couple. He is my rock. He is my everything. I'm very blessed to have, just a team player with me. We do have our roles in the organization. So sometimes he'll step into my role, and sometimes I'll step into his. And if we step a little too far, we let the other person know. It's a little funnier when I do it than when he does it. But when he tries to tell me what to do on my part of the house or my part of the business, I get to tell him, don't worry your pretty little head. And that is so fun to say. I'm not going to lie. That is fun to say to a man. But when you say that to a woman, those kind of fighting words,
Yeah.
So there is a little double, a different side of that, right? So, but we know each other's role. We give each other a lot of leeway and a lot of trust, because we both know we are workers, and we know that we are kind of going for that greater good. And yeah, we're very aligned. And I think having those, conversations about alignment, for Phil and myself, we talk about our touchstones, like the things in our life that are important to us, so I think a lot of people put wealth first, and then health, and then happiness, right? When it should be, we should kind of rework the order. But it's something just kind of built into, our DNA and us socially and our culture. But some of our touchstones are our wealth and our health and our happiness and our relationships and, our family. And those are things that, we'll ask each other, how are you rating on one of these scales? So it's kind of a check-in process. And I think checking in with, your business partner and, also the person that you love, really critical to success. And yeah, so does that give you a little bit of an
Yeah. That was super helpful. I mean, you answered my next question, so I'm kind of going to reframe it, because I really liked what you said about the second shift. We'll say, when we talked about that career break stick, I mean, you do have, I think, one child, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You have a
yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to know about the gender roles, and because typically it's women will stay home and there's a man who will go to work, and how did you break patterns? I'm guessing it's because you set this up from the beginning. You guys sat down and really talked about it. did you guys do that from the beginning and then had the mental, like the actual check-ins, or you guys really just, how did this come about? Like, did you just sit down and say, I'm going to do real estate? Because I want to know how this worked. Because I want to know how you got this to start out for the two of you.
How we got, you mean started? You mean?
Well, no, just really like, I mean, you really broke those patterns, these traditional gender roles of, both of you are really, really working together. You've really figured it out. How'd you do it?
Well, I'll tell you, this is kind of a funny story.
I love it.
When we first started investing, Phil said, listen, you need to get a realtor's license. And at that time, I had a little more piss and vinegar inside of me. So at the time, I said, F you go get a realtor's license. I don't want to be the realtor. No offense to the realtors that are on. So we drew straws and I picked the short straw. Okay. And it's interesting, I'm like, I am an MBA. I could never be it's like, and even and people did confirm that thought. I had some people say like, you're an MBA and now you're a realtor. Like, what happened? I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, hold on, time out. It's like, I'm not going to explain to you my entire game plan, but I have it so I can, when I think the perfect investor team is the agent investor and the non-agent investor. Okay. So I can access things that he can't, but he can say things that I can't. But it's a great team. So I took one for the team. I did not want to be. In fact, whenever someone says to me, well, you're the realtor, right? I'm like, no, I'm so much more than that. No offense to any other folks on the call that are realtors, because every success, you will not be a successful real estate investor unless you have a powerhouse investor friendly realtor on your power team, period. The end. Goodbye. Do not pass go. You got to have that person. At the time when we got started, we didn't have the Phil and Shenoah that needed to say, no, Shenoah, don't get a realtor's license. Just leverage somebody else who already has a realtor license. Like every time, I'll challenge you guys, every time you get in an Uber, ask them, do you do any real estate? And I can almost guarantee you that 1 out of 4 of the Uber drivers have a realtor's license. The world doesn't need more realtors, right? We have more realtors than we have listings on the MLS, right? I mean, think about that. But at the time, I didn't have someone coming to me and say, no, don't do that. It's funny, one of my girlfriends, she's like, oh, Shenoah, my significant other got me realtor school for my birthday. I'm going to be just like you. I'm like, time out. No. You just get a realtor. Don't be a realtor. There aren't enough realtors. Like, you go focus on the high dollar activities. The highest dollar activities are going to be the investing activities. And it's easy to get, and for the people who come to me and say like, well, I'm thinking about getting my realtor's license. I said, oh, that's great. That's perfect. After you get your realtor's license, then, you could probably save a lot of money if you got your electrician's license too, and then of course you need your plumber's license, right? And then you got to learn how to go put on a roof. And then it's like, and when the heck are you going to ever have time to be a real estate investor? You're not. But that's the mindset of, I want to save money. I want to, have access, I'm not going to, it's a little bit of a limited, limiting belief type of a mindset. So the faster you're able to let that go, the faster you're able to grow to that next level. And part of that too is being willing to fire yourself from roles that are now beneath you. So, there's, some of you guys, like, I mean, I say like all the time, what got you there, what got every single one of you to where you are today is also going to keep you there. As we grow in our mind, our knowledge, our business, we have to shed and let things go in order to grow up to that next level. So, when I think of one of my favorite books, Darren Hardy's book, it's called The Entrepreneurial Roller Coaster. And one of the things, so Darren Hardy was the publisher for Success Magazine. So he spent, part of his lifetime interviewing other successful business owners. And he would always ask them like, hey, give me advice. And one of the advice, one of the business owners said, hey, fire yourself as soon as you can. Darren's like, what? What do you mean? He's like, yeah, first fire yourself from taking out the trash. then fire yourself from doing the accounting, and then fire yourself from, doing the this, and then fire yourself from doing the that until you're only doing one thing. And that, so, and I give a little talk about this. I gave it in March of this year. I'm going to get to give it again in October. It was called Blow the Doors Off of 2024. And I talked about firing yourself, and I talked about letting go of some of the minimum wage activities, and and you also mentioned like the gender roles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, some of those minimum wage activities that are maybe some more gender role specific, right? They flow in some cases to the women. It's like, I am a cutthroat, like in terms of like what I will not do, because I don't want taking out the trash to get in the way of my greatness. I don't want cleaning the house to get in the way of my greatness. I don't want, make so I'll do a little meal prep, but I don't want to make, making meals and cleaning up after, I don't want to get that to get in the way of my greatness. Somebody needs me on my A game, and my A game is not doing the laundry, period. Right. So, and I will tell all of you guys, I think one of the things I see a lot of people do is they'll bring in someone to work on the customer facing activities. And that's the first person that they bring into their business. It's like, no, don't bring anybody. You're not ready to bring anybody into your business yet. And the last person that you're going to replace is you on those customer facing activities, especially if you are the rainmaker, right? So the book talks about being the rainmaker. But the first thing you should do is fire yourself from the non-customer facing activities, the things that are holding you back, right? The things that are like, oh, well, I should be cleaning the house. No, it's like, I'm so over, I can leave a dirty dish in the sink, and this is for some of you guys, it's going to be like gross, but I leave it in there, and I'm going to have somebody else come and clean up so I can go and make money to be able to create economies that include and serve other people. That's, it's like, my housekeeper is like, can I bring you water? Can I bring you this? Can I bring you that? It's like, she knows, like, if I'm doing a dish, I'm not going to be able to afford to pay her. So literally, I've told my assistants, like, if you see me doing a minimum wage activity, like slap, if you see me with a broom or a mop or just slap it out of my hand, because I'm not going to be able to sign your check if I'm holding one of those things, period. And the people who work for me who get that, and I hope I don't sound like a bougie jerk, because some people are like, oh, dang, she's, but it's just because I have bigger things that are on me, that are on my purpose, that are on my passion, and things that give me joy and make me happy. So sometimes you have to let go of those things in order to, be the true rainmaker, and be what, God has put us on this beautiful earth to be able to, do and enjoy.
Yeah, you got to keep the main thing the main thing. I love that. I'm glad you said that. My husband's cooking dinner for me right now, so huge. Love that. That leads me into my next question. You've trained over 87,000 investors. It was a big point that I love to make when I was introducing you. What are the most common mistakes new investors make, and how do you guide them through those challenges?
Oh, it's a great question. Gosh, and this could really go in so many different ways.
I know.
Probably the most heartbreaking thing for me is when a new investor is in a bad deal, and I can see the writing on the wall, and I'm like, you're going to lose money on this deal. And I've literally had to tell people, you'll lose less money if you just walk away from this terrible deal than you will lose if you take this deal all the way to the finish. Welcome to real estate investing. It's like, I feel like a jerk. And then we have these cognitive biases, like this fear of loss kind of that will hook into us, and in some cases stop us from doing the next right thing. But that's probably one of the most heartbreaking things that I see as a real estate investor. And, we have this saying, which is, there's only one thing that's worse than bad advice. And that's bad advice from a trusted source, where, someone says, well, my realtor or my broker or my banker or my friend or my, the wholesaler, or insert person who's, serving themselves. That's probably the most heartbreaking thing. And then I also run into people who, for the last 20 years, who want to argue with me about how now's not the right time to invest in real estate. 30 some odd $1 million later, I'm sorry, I'm just not buying that anymore. I'm just, and sometime I'll, kind of, it's like, I want to meet people where they're at. That's part of my commitment. But if I'm getting in a heated argument with someone, I'm like, you're not ready for me. But there are a lot of other people who are, and those are the folks that I want to spend time with.
It's hard though, especially when they say you're not ready or they don't want to.
Yeah. It's like, are you coachable? Like I want to be around, I am humble enough to know that every single day I learn something new in real estate. And most people you talk to have been doing it for 20 years. They're going to say, I know everything. You know nothing. The second you stop learning, the second you stop growing is the second you start falling behind. And people need us on our A game more than ever. And sellers and buyers and brokers and bankers, like they'll know. So if you're not humble enough to get back into put back on the training wheels, you're going to have a problem. And I read an interview that Tim Ferriss did, and it was about this woman who was MBA, running a company, and then went to go and be an intern in her 40s for someone else. It takes a lot of bravery to be able to, and a change in identity, right? To go and say, like, this is my passion now, and this is the direction I'm going to go in. But I think it's, was it Alvin Toller who said, oh gosh, I'm probably going to mess this up. The people who will fall behind are not the illiterate, but instead they're the people who are unwilling to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And, we always got to put ourselves through our paces, and we always got to put ourselves through that process. And we have to be humble enough to be able to show up in that way every day. So yeah, I think that's critical. And I'm still, and it is hard. It's like, it's embarrassing to say, well, what does that word mean again? Or what is that? It's like, because you don't want to look like an idiot. But I'm more okay looking like an idiot at 51 than I ever was at 15. And a saying that set me free was that in your 20s, you really worried about what other people think about you. And in your 40s, you don't really care what other people are thinking about you. But in your 60s, you realize, well, heck, they weren't even thinking about you in the first place. So it's okay. It's just okay. Ask the questions. Greenfield it, get uncomfortable. That's just part of a process of growth. I'm dedicated to it. I'm a reader. I'm like, listen to all the podcasts and reading all I love it. And I want to grow, and I want to share what I'm learning with others, because number one, it gives me a little bit of a volunteer's high. So we've all kind of had that volunteer's high, right? And then when I share it with others, it allows me to get my reps in and practice it. And when I'm getting my reps in, there is just some deeper connection that you're able to get that makes you deeper in your craft.
I'm going to share my screen again because we have an amazing event. Shenoah, do you want to share the news? What are we doing?
Oh, yeah. So this is going to be a lot of fun and a great learning experience. So we are joining Massive Capital this weekend in Dallas, and talk about blowing the doors off of 2024. Guys, it is October the 1st, okay? You have one quarter left to really grow and really set yourself apart for 2025. Some people, their mindset for all of this year was stay alive until 2025, okay? I want you guys to be coming out of the gates, finishing 2024, blowing the doors off. And the way that you do that is you associate yourself with people who are doing and on the path and have done the things that you want to do. It just, they can tell you there's a pothole over there, you don't want to go over there. There's a sand trap over there, you got to be careful about this. This is the way, hey, if you want the shortcut, you know, some people say there's no shortcuts in life, but if you're learning from someone who's already like made the mistakes, oh yeah, you just listen to that. So we are teaching a class this weekend, October 4th, 5th, and 6th in Dallas. Love to see you guys there to join us. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be teaching. My husband's going to be there. Mike's going to be there. Sharar's going to be there. Sanjay's going to be there. And this is what we're bringing to it as well. So massive is a lot of multifamily, a lot of triple net leases, and a lot of land development. We're also bringing other folks who are in other asset classes, whether it's mobile home parks. Don't judge. That is, you know, you guys talked about cash flow earlier. That is a cash cow, right? RV parks, right? Residential assisted living. So we're going to bring in and complement a lot of the massive success with some other asset classes, again, to be able to grow. And for me, I like to think of myself as asset class agnostic. Okay. If there's a deal and if there's an opportunity to make money, I'm going to jump into that, right? I'm attached to the outcome, which is success, making money, building wealth, bringing other people along for the ride. But I'm not attached to the asset class or the vehicle that I'm doing it in, right? So I don't care if you want to take Uber X or Uber XL, right? So there are ways to be able to get there. We're going to have a lot of folks from the massive team there. I got to tell you guys something that probably you guys don't know about this. I mentioned them kind of dedicated to learning, growing. Like this weekend, October 5th, is also my birthday. Okay.
Oh.
So you know, it's like, you know, and when I think about, sometimes people say like, well, my birthday week and my birthday weekend and my birthday month, you know, it's like, I got to remind everybody, you get a holiday. You don't get a, like someone who's very dear to me said like, well, Shenoah, it's the holidays, it's the holiday months. And she was talking about November and December. And I'm like, no, oh no. You get a day. This is called a day, right? I'm probably gonna take a birthday hour, but I just because I want to blow the doors off, right? And I want to keep learning and I want to keep growing and I want to surround myself with other people that are doing it too. So part of sorry, my pups in the background celebrating my birthday early. But yeah, I want you to think of your birthday as a day to give, not just like cake and wine and, you know, whatever, but also give yourself the gift of education. Part of my other journey this month is part of my gift of education is I'm going to see Alex and Layla Hormozy in Las Vegas. So that's like I went in and I told my husband, I said, listen, honey, I bought myself a birthday present from you. It was $5,000. You know, I'm taking myself to the Hormozis and I'm going to go and learn from them. And this is and you know, my husband said, I know what you do. I know what you love and I know how you bring it back to me, to him, and to our family and to the people that are around us. So yeah, you go do that. So that's how I see like giving myself a present and surrounding myself with the people that I love, doing the things that I love when I want to do them. So I invite all of you guys to the workshop that we are hosting with Massive this weekend. And Jasmine, I'm sure you could pop in the link to be able to get registered for it. You're going to learn a lot and you're going to be surrounded by people who are blowing the doors off and is just that is just part of their DNA to blow the doors off. So I hope that you guys can join us and can take part.
Thank you so much, Shenoah.
I think we should end on, if there's no more questions, Shenoah, what she means to you.
What my name means?
No, she. Sorry,
what
saying it back.
She builds on this.
Yeah. So I think you guys are creating an incredible community, and I think you guys are looking for growth. I think you guys are, and just bringing other people along. You guys don't have to do this, right? This is both a labor of love, and you are giving a lot before you ask for anything, right? And that is, I think, it's in line with one of my favorite books, The Go Giver. And you guys want to bring other people along for the ride. And you guys want to grow together in community as a community. And you want to take the brakes off, and you want to take the stereotypes away. And you guys and this community is going to be, and I know you guys are just getting started with it, but it's going to be a powerful part of, I think, a lot of women's journey into changing that first slide or the second slide that you put up there. And I think it's going to be incredibly impactful. And I'm so honored to be a part of this meeting tonight, and part of y'all's journey. Yeah, I'm honored. I'm honored that you asked me to be here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Shenoah. It's been an amazing call. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on. And don't give up on this journey. Don't give up on bringing other people along. You've inspired a lot of people already, and those folks need you on your A game. And I'll just ask that you guys continue that, to be able to give back to others, because what I've found is that as you give, you get. As you build community, you build your network, you build your resources, you build that $1 million Rolodex, which is truly the difference between us, greasing the skids and making it easy, versus us having to do everything ourselves. And we don't, and the resources are there, and you guys are so gracious in providing those. So thank you so much for having me on. I'll see you guys this weekend. Take care. Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye. We will see you this weekend. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you for being here.